Sorry, I'm trying to get stuff situated. I'll have to do a lot of rearranging, I think. But okay, so this lesson is going to be about placing figures in the coordinate plane. Okay, and the way I've decided to make this video and like for notes is instead of making a whole note page again, and it's just too much work for me. So what I'm going to do is I've actually printed off the homework assignment that I'm giving you. Okay, and I'm only assigning you a couple of the problems from this. And as far as the notes that I'm going to do, I'm going to show you what to do based off the problems I'm not assigning. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So the ones I'm doing, you don't have to do again. Okay, I will tell you on Google Classroom which ones I specifically want you to do. Okay, I've just got this here as a reference, and I'm going to work them out. So I'm going to do that one. Number 2. Let's see. I'm going to do this one. We're not doing any from there, so I'm just going to mark those out. I'm going to do this one and this one. All right, that's all I'm going to show you. So I'm going to kind of have this off to the side as a reference for me, and then I'm going to do the work here. We'll try to do it. Okay. So number 2 off the homework. So we have to find the coordinates and of the midpoint of each segment and find the length of each segment, okay? So let's remember, let me do this one real quick. Let's remember our formulas. So midpoint is x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divide 2. Okay? That's your midpoint formula. And then the distance formula, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, and all of that is underneath the big square root. Okay, we have to use both of those. So number 2 is asking about the segment ET. So from E to T. What I'm going to do is write those out, those coordinates out. So E is at 2A, comma 2B, and then T is at A, comma 0. Right? The whole idea behind this is all these figures we've talked about, parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, square, trapezoid, kite, we put those figures in the coordinate plane, and then we can use their properties to find some stuff out about them, okay? So, for this first problem, what I think is easier for you all to do is if you write out the coordinates of the 2 points you're talking about, the endpoints of your segment, because I'm looking at this one specifically, but I wrote its coordinates out. And I'm going to find the midpoint and the distance for that segment, all right? So, midpoint, let's start there. So, midpoint of TE. Oops, that's ET. I guess it doesn't matter, but. So, okay, midpoint says you add the x's up on top and divide it by 2. So I'm going to look at my x's here. I got 2a and an a. So I'm going to do 2a plus the other a, divide 2, comma. Now I'm going to add the y's up. So 2b plus 0 divide 2. Okay. Now, normally we've had numbers with this and you typed it in the calculator and you simplified it. We're doing that same thing, guys, okay? So don't be freaked out because there's no numbers. It's the same thing, it's just we have variables in our answer. So, I'm going to simplify just the tops. That's what I want you to do. Simplify the tops. 2a plus a, that gives me 3a over 2. 2b plus 0, well, that's nothing. 2b divide 2. Okay. Now I need to actually divide. So the letters are going to stay there, and then we're going to see if we can divide these numbers. 3 divide 2. I can't do it perfectly, so I'm going to leave it as the fraction 3 over 2, and then put my a afterwards. And then 2 divide 2, we know what that is. That's going to be b. Just one single b. Okay? Now, if you don't want to deal with fractions, you could write it like this. 1.5a and then 1b. Or you don't even have to put the 1 there. Okay? Either one of these will work for me. Right. Distance is the length. So I'm going to write it like this. ET equals, so right here I'm doing distance. I'm going to mark that so you know what I'm doing. So distance formula says you subtract the second x. So second x subtract first x in parentheses squared. So that's what I'm going to do. Put my big square root first. Big square root. Because it's ET, we start with t. So the x of t, a, subtract the x of e, 2a, close up parenthesis, and squared. Plus, now we'll do the y's. The y of t, 0, subtract the y of e, 2b, squared. Okay? Now, this looks complicated. It's not. Okay? It's not that hard. You just have to go one step at a time, take it a single piece at a time, and you won't screw it up. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to simplify the inside of the parentheses first. That's the only thing we're going to do. So we still have our big square root. Well, I'm not going to make it as big now. 1a subtract 2a's. That gives me negative 1a's squared. I'm doing that for a reason, putting the 1 there. Plus the next one. 0 minus 2b is going to give me negative 2b. We'll square it. Now we have to actually square what we have here. Okay? And I'm going to try and talk you through how it needs to look, okay? Because you might screw this up. Everything inside these parentheses must be squared. Remember, squaring is timesing by itself. So here's how I think about it. Start with the negative 1. Negative 1 times itself. So negative 1 times negative 1. That is positive 1. A times itself. That's going to give you a squared. Okay? Put our plus. Let's go to the second one. Start with your number. Negative 2 squared means negative 2 times another negative 2. That's 4. B squared is simply going to be b squared. Okay? That's all you do. You can't go any farther because this is an A, this is a B. They're not like terms, so we stop. We can't do anything else. That's how long ET is. Okay? Now, what I could do from here, I'm not going to, but what I could do is give you values for A and B, like actual number values. You can plug those in and simplify out this expression. But for right now, we're going to stop. So here's our midpoint up here. And this is how long that segment is. Okay? I hope this made sense what I was talking about right here. If you get to this part of the video lesson and you're trying to do on the homework and you get lost, please contact me because I can try and talk you through it. I think I did it okay on this video, but please, if you don't understand it, you're going to have to contact me. All right, moving on. I'm going to do number 7. So now I want the slope. So the directions say slope. So earlier it said midpoint and find the length. That's why I used midpoint and distance. This time I'm going to use the slope formula for number 7. So for myself, I'm going to put it. Slope we call little m. Let me write it this way. A slope m is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, if you don't have that formula memorized, you're going to have to write it down because I'm not going to remind you every time. You have to know what that is. All right. I'm going to write down the coordinates of R and E so I don't lose them. R is at 3A, comma A. E is at A, comma 2A. That's weird looking. Anyway. Okay, so again, don't be freaked out that we have letters. We're going to work it the same way. So we're going to say the slope of RE equals. Remember, we subtract the y's on top and we start with the second y. Point E came first, so I'm going to start with his y. The y of E is going to be 2A. Always subtract the y of R, so A, and then divide the x of A, or E, excuse me, the x of E, subtract the x of R. Okay? I'm following this formula, but just with the coordinates I was given. Okay? So you can think about it like this. y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Okay? Now I need to simplify this, so don't start crossing things out like this. That's just crazy. Go across the top and then come across the bottom. We'll do that first. 2A subtract A, that is 1A over A minus 3A. That's 1A subtract 3A, so that's negative 2A's. All right. Notice that all we have left is everything has an A term, and A divide A, that's going to cross itself out. We're left with negative 1 over 2. That's your slope. Okay. The slope ones are actually easier, I think, than the top ones. All right. Now for these, I'm going to try and do them on this paper. So let's put that over there out of the way. All right, so we have to use the properties of each figure to find the missing coordinates. So everywhere there's a question mark, we have to find. All right, this is a parallelogram, so I can use those properties. So I need to find this coordinate right here. I is missing its y coordinate. Can y'all see that? hope y'all can see that. Okay, let me write this down. I is at 3a, comma, we don't know. And then we also have to find D, which is at we don't know, comma, B. Okay, I'm going to start with I because I think it's easier. So, notice that I is on the bottom of this parallelogram. It's across the bottom. If you look across, remember, in a parallelogram, the opposite sides are congruent. So look across. Notice that the y coordinates are the same for the points across the top. That if we found the actual length of that, we could we could do that, but we're not going to. Those had to match in order to be a parallelogram. So these need to match. So we're going to actually say that the y coordinate down here at I is also 0. That's because it has to match the fact that the y coordinates match up here, the y coordinates must match down here. Okay? Now we have to find the x coordinate of D. All right? I'm going to have to think about it for a minute. All right. I think I know what I'm doing. I had to double check something for a minute. All right. So notice that D is right here, right? Well, if we draw like a dashed line that's supposed to be straight, but I can't draw straight. A straight line down like that. We're past the point I, which has an x at 3a. Okay? This distance right here, let me draw this. This distance right here, we need to find what that is, and we can add it to the 3a, and that will get us our x coordinate. Well, if I look over here at J, it's the same situation between point J and the origin. If I drop that line, this little distance is the same. This little distance is the same as this little distance. Well, how long is this part? Well, the origin is at 0, and this is at A, so this distance right here, that little dash, is A, which means this is A. And so this line is going to be 3A plus A. That's how long it is to get to D, right? Because D is all this length. It's the A, and then it's 3A, and then an extra A. That is actually 4A when you simplify that. Okay? I hope that makes sense when I'm doing it. If it does not make sense, please let me know. All right, last one I'm going to do is the kite. So we know everything about this except this point C over here. We have to find this point. Well, however long this distance is right here of a kite needs to be the same length as this distance over here. They have to be the same. So right here at the middle is 0, and going this way, we said it was B. That's an X length, because it's on the X-axis, that's a B. So it needs to be the same this way, but notice I went backwards. Let me actually write out what we need to do. Whoops. We're looking for point C, and we don't know either one of those coordinates. This X value at C needs to be similar to U, but it's in the opposite direction, so it's actually negative B, because it has to be the same length. Oh, you can't see what I'm writing. Oops, that didn't work. There we go. Sorry. This little distance right here is b because it's an x length. It needs to be the same as this, but it's in the opposite direction, so we'll say it's negative b over here for this x coordinate. Now, what is the y coordinate? Well, it's on eye level with the point u, and the y coordinate at u is 0. So guess what? It's also going to be 0. Okay, just using the properties of kites, and it's kind of like common sense just to sit and think about it. Using these properties to figure out these coordinates. All right, that's all I think I'm going to do because I think if you just sit and think about them, you should be able to figure it out. But again, if you don't understand something, please contact me and let me know. All right, that's all I have. It's Thursday. This assignment comes out this morning, and it will be due tomorrow night before midnight. So if you need help, let me know.